What's good, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Harmon Jr. on all your favorite social media, now including TikTok, Voyager, Kicks, WhatsApp, KitKat, Kit app. I don't know what it is. Point is, we're on everything now. Everywhere you can find us, verified and all. But before you do that, you're going to enjoy this week's episode because I have a new to the show guest, like I like to always do. I'm going to need y'all to give a round of applause to Matthew Adler. Woo! How are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing so well. How are you doing, Odell?
I'm doing good, man. I wish I was rocking a Fresh Supreme hat. For you audio listeners, Matt's got a Fresh Supreme hat. You need to check that out on the YouTubes. But, Matt, just in case the people don't know who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Matt, Matthew Adler. Either one's cool. I am a freelance journalist. I currently write for IGN. I've been writing there since 2019, so a little over 2 years now. I do everything under the sun there. Features, news, reviews, previews, wikis, commerce. So I'm pretty much everywhere there. I also stream part-time on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Matthew Adler. That's pretty much it. I mean, I got my normal day job, but been freelancing, trying to go full-time in the biz.
I feel that. As any freelancer will tell you, it's hard work, man. Even once you think you're there, man, you got to put in some work. So I salute you, sir. We're all in it.
Hell yeah.
But for today, we got some fresh topics for y'all people. It's going to be a console-heavy episode. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that right out the gate because we're going to be talking about PS5s. Guess what? You ain't got one, it ain't getting no easier, bro. And when I say it ain't getting easier, we're talking about July 2022. It's going to be the same as July 2021. Probably ain't getting it. Whew. But before that, if you didn't know, Epic is having a big legal case against Apple. All sorts of nonsense, but some interesting information came out regarding Xbox consoles. They have never made a profit off any of the Xbox consoles. Yes, I'm talking about OG Xbox to Xbox Series X. What does that mean? Does it give Xbox clout? Probably a little bit, but we'll get into that. But before that, the internet won't shut up about it. And you know what? We've been lacking on entertainment news for a little bit, so I figured we're going to be talking about Venom 2. Yes, Venom, one of Spider-Man's greatest adversaries, and one of the few Sony movies that can still have a Marvel/Disney product in them. So the trailer dropped for Venom 2. We got a whole bunch of Venom goodness. We got Carnage as the new bad guy. And it's a mixed bag, Matt, because, not people either hated or kind of liked. I won't even say love, kind of like the first one. And part 2 looks more the same. But I want to get your opinion. What was your feeling after you watched that trailer? Did it get you hyped, or you're just like, man, I'm over this?
Honestly, when it comes to movies, especially comic book movies, I'm easily pleased. Like, I'll be honest, I've watched all the DCU movies and like they're fine. Like I had a good time. Watched the Snyder Cut. It was fine, man. It was a good time. So, the fact that this isn't like an MCU proper movie doesn't really get me, angry or anything. I'm gonna watch it. I'll be honest though, I have not watched the first movie. I didn't watch Venom. A lot of it because people said it was not a good movie, and I'm like, well, I'll get around to it. That's kind of the case. But after watching this trailer, let me tell you, that Carnage reveal, that was hype.
That was hype. And you bring up an interesting point. So, you said, you watched all the MCU, DECU, and all that stuff. What I find interesting is that one, Disney's letting Sony do this. I'm pretty sure there's contracts and stuff involved. But do you think it's possible to even stand a chance, like by the zeitgeist of the internet, to be considered good when you're basically, for lack of a better term, an MCU character in a non-MCU movie?
Yeah, I feel like with anytime there's like a non-MCU movie that comes out, it's gonna get trashed on. Unfortunately, people I feel like are really elitist with like the Disney MCU proper stuff, because those movies have such a consistent quality to them. Whereas some of these other movies, while they may have a lot of the characters that we love, aren't at the same quality that Disney's putting into it. That being said, like I feel like some of these movies aren't as bad as people say. Like I'm one of those people that enjoyed Wonder Woman 84. Like, people were trashing that movie. You're either like in the camp of, yes, the movie was okay, it was fine, it was fun, or like, I can't believe they made that movie, right? So you know, everyone's gonna be impossible to please. I think with these movies, they're just going for like the lowest common denominator. Like, let's just make a fun movie that, you know, the majority of the people in the middle will appreciate. There'll be the people on the ends, you know, of the spectrum that really like it and really hate it. But as long as they get that 80% in the middle, I think that's a success for them. And hey, if they're making a second movie, like, that means the first movie for them must have done fine.
You know, before we go on, I think I need to make a disclaimer that Matthew Adler's movie views do not reflect the views of Full Circle Podcast and its affiliates.
Dude, honestly, like, I am the most like just average. Like, I don't have like highs and lows when it comes to like a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm just so right down the middle with a lot of things. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but most movies, I'm like, that was fine. You know, I enjoyed it. It was a good 2 hours of my life.
All right. With that said, you know, I think I know your answer, but oh man, I'm wearing a very appropriate shirt for those who are listening, but watching, I should say. So, do you think, because a lot of people are gonna have this problem with Venom going forward or whatever they're gonna do with the franchise, and I know you're very, you know, middle of the pack, but you think Venom could properly exist without Spider-Man? That they can have this whole, essentially, you know, it'll be like them making a Green Goblin movie series and you never see Spider-Man. Do you think that's something Venom could survive off of, just as its own thing, detached from him completely?
I mean, that's a really good question. For people that are like diehard comic book fans, probably not. I think, again, for just the general public and for like people like me who I haven't read Spider-Man comics and I didn't grow up with comics in general. So like, these characters, I don't have like a deep, like, you know, childhood love for, like so many people do. So I think those people, yeah, those are the people that are like, why are they doing this? Like, don't make it at all, you know? Yeah. Whereas like, I feel like there's so many characters in that universe that they could still explore. And while I don't know what Sony's contract allows them to bring in with like Disney stuff existing too, I don't know if they're limited to, you know, a handful of characters or whatever. But you know, the fact that they're getting Carnage in the second movie is like, that's a pretty big get, I think. But I think at some point, I would like to just see Disney scoop that property back up, whatever it takes. Like, I at this point, it sucks that they haven't done it, but if Disney's willing to drop $3 billion on Star Wars, they could probably drop whatever to get Spider-Man back in the official MCU, you know, Disney house. And then that would be dope to see Venom, even if it's recast as somebody different, crossover and be in those actual movies that people do care about. Because, yeah, I feel like you're kind of in this weird spot where, like, it's cool to see this character, but it always feels fake, even to me, where I'm like, I don't really care about, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't care. I do care about these comic book characters now, you know, after the last 20 years of movies and stuff. I'm like a huge fan now, but it feels kind of like a waste to have these movies when you know that there's like a better version that could exist. It's like it's cool. I'm glad that it's there, but at the same point, I'm like, just at this point, like, come on, Disney, just go do what you got to do.
You know, so disclaimer. So I'm not a huge comic book, you know, aficionado, but I did grow up with, you know, 90s X-Men, 90s Spider-Man, things of that nature. So that was my first introduction to them. And I've researched them even before the MCU because I love Spider-Man games. First fact, if you play Ultimate Spider-Man, people, you know what I'm talking about. That's a great game. You play Spider-Man and Venom, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so because of games and the cartoons I grew up with, you know, from the 90s and the early 2000s, Venom to me has always been not the quintessential Spider-Man villain, because, you know, you have like Green Goblin and people like that. But to me, he's one of the most iconic, and in my opinion, the best, because, you know, he was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So, you know, there's a lot of people are familiar with him in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And the storylines involving Venom are always great. You know, the eternal struggle that Peter Parker has with his more powerful bad side. And when he was in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, it was just god awful. It was just bad. Like, I'm not saying the movie was bad, but the portrayal of Venom was like,
Yeah.
it was
It
not that
was
great.
really edgy and cringe. It was the mid 2000s, so I guess you can give him a pass on it. But yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah.
That movie is hard to go back to.
Yeah, and so especially if you play the Ultimate Spider-Man, you can see the story of Venom in there. But he fights Wolverine in the game, and it's awesome. He beats the crap out of him. But moving on. So I've always wanted to see a proper portrayal of Venom in association with Spider-Man. In the Venom movie, I mean, it was better than anything we've gotten. That's all I can really say. I won't say it's what I was hoping for. But like you said, I wish the MCU had it, because Venom is such a character that I feel like he needs to be treated with the same respect that you would treat, any major villain of any superhero. I'm not saying he's Thanos, but the delicateness that they picked him with should be done with Venom. And I don't want to always have that feeling, like you said, this could be done better if they just had the money.
Mm-hmm.
And
you saw there's rumors that like they may be getting Tom Holland somehow to cross over into these movies, because Sony technically owns his character, even though he's in the MCU. They're like loaning him over there. Like, what do you think about that? If he makes it into these Sony movies,
bro. So I saw this epic. Like, sometimes the internet just gets it a little too right, and it's so right that it's probably not gonna happen. So Far From Home, not Far From Home, Away From Home, whatever the new Spider-Man movie is called.
Yeah.
And they've been teasing the Spider-Verse and all this stuff. That they're gonna have Toby, they're gonna have Andrew Garfield, they're gonna have, whoever. That someone said the reason they're hyping this up is so they're gonna have a Spider-Verse movie, and there's gonna stuff happen to explain and justify why both Tom Holland's in the Sony one and the MCU, because different dimensions. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm okay with that.
It's clever. It's a clever workaround. Yeah, because otherwise the canon starts to get really weird between that and like the continuity errors that people are surely gonna find. So yeah,
definitely. I'm still mad that they did the WandaVision, Quicksilver, X-Men, and then it turned out to be. I'm like, why did y'all?
Yeah, that was like such a huge buzzkill. I was so hyped when that happened. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then it just turned out to be like literally nothing.
It was literally a kick in the nuts. Like, when it was like, oh no, we just did it. There's no X-Men coming to the MCU. I'm like, why? That, like, I geeked out. I can't think of the last time I geeked out so hard. I was like, what does this mean?
Yeah, man. I was so in with all of the like speculations and theories that people had like week to week. Like, that whole watching WandaVision on a weekly basis was like such an event, and I really am so hyped for the rest of like the MCU shows that they have lined up. Loki coming up, I'm hyped for. But man, the internet they go off on a tangent and they link onto that the Mephisto thing, all this stuff that people at the Doctor Strange showing up at the end, like all of these things got into my head, and I was like, bro, this could be literally like one of the best shows ever. And then like nothing panned out, and like it was still a good show, but the ending just like it was consistently week to week better, and then the ending was just kind of like. So
they did not stick the landing.
They didn't, and I get like there's a whole release schedule that kind of shifted around due to COVID, and like things would have played out maybe differently had other shows been before it. So we would have had proper expectations going in and like know what the MCU shows are, but I don't know. I'm still like, man, that show. There's so many little things that they could have done to like really open up this whole multiverse, but I'm sure we'll see that in the Doctor Strange movie. So
yeah, the multiverse of madness. I'm really excited. It's strange that, I mean, it's impressive more than it's strange that a movie company production. I mean, they have the money at Disney. And it's like, here's every movie and show coming out for the next decade. I'm like, that is insane to think about.
Right? When they showed that, I'm like, those aren't even years. Those aren't real years to me. Like 2027, we're never gonna get there.
Oh, bro, I'm with you on that. Like, it blows. So, all right. So me and my friends were talking, right? We're like, I was born in 1990, just for clarification of this. And my friend was like, bro, we're gonna be alive in 2050. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my god! Like my mind, it was like
Dude,
I
it's
divided by
crazy.
0.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Okay, so something hit me the other day that just made me like I'm December of '89, so I'm like right with you. But something hit me the other day where I was like, bro, like this really made me feel old. Someone like on TikTok was like they like showed their ID to pick up a drink or whatever, and the dude looks at it and then like hands it back super quick, and the guy's like, "Oh hey man, like you didn't even check." He's like, "Oh, your birthday started with or the year you were born started with a 20, so like I know you're over 21 basically." Like that means people
oh,
born in the year 2000 are 21 now. Like fuck. Oh, no. So he said, sorry, I messed the whole thing up. He said, your birthday started with a 19, so I know that you have to be 21.
oh yeah, you're right. The year because
Yeah,
there's no
the
way
year.
like you could be born. Yeah, if you're born in 1999, you're still what like
You're already 21.
yeah. Oh man,
Bro, that shit threw me through a loop. I was like, no.
you know what my defining moment, where I knew that like I had reached an age that I never could fathom was my friend has a younger sibling, and I think she's 18 right now. I could be, my math is wrong. She's either 17 or 18. My point being, we're talking about 9/11, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't even born yet." I'm like,
No, dude, that's not real.
right? I'm like, you're an
9/11 was
adult.
10 years ago, bro. Like, come on.
I'm like, you're an adult, and you. And I'm like, you wasn't.
That's so weird.
And she was born in like 03 or 04, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, you weren't alive.
Oh, that's so weird. That is so weird.
Yeah. Speaking of weird, you know what's weird? That apparently Xbox is the best gaming company on the planet. And people, I know you're probably thinking, oh, no, you went from an Xbox hater to an Xbox lover. No, I went from an Xbox hater to I respect everything that Xbox has done, and upon maturing and retrospectively looking back with new information, that Xbox may just be the best damn gaming company on the planet.
Damn, that's a hot, spicy take there.
Oh yeah. Oh no. That is a very spicy take. But what I say is that so it came out, like I said earlier, that Xbox Xbox was called to be a witness in the Apple versus Epic trial that's been ongoing now, and God knows what's going to become of that. And basically, they were called to the witness stand for whatever reason, and the jury asked them, the judge was like, what is the profit margins on the Xbox consoles? And they basically said, there isn't one. We've never sold them at a profit. There is no profit gain on that. Every single console's been sold at a loss. And at first thought you might be thinking like, well, duh, the original Xbox, of course, it came out extremely late in the game. Like, I remember getting an Xbox, playing Halo, and then the 360 was coming out. That's how short its life cycle was. I had like literally a single game before the 360 came out. And we all know that ultimately, you know, the PS3 won that battle, and then the PS4 ultimately won the battle against the One. But, and you know, we always say and laugh, it was always a joke that Microsoft has so much money that the Xbox doesn't have to do well. But the Xbox has never done well. And the fact that they kept pursuing this and didn't just cut it is amazing to me. I don't know, but how'd you feel when you heard this news? Am I just overreacting to this?
No, it's definitely one of those attention grabbing headlines. But for me, like it doesn't surprise me at all. I feel like I don't think any video game companies nowadays are making money on that. You know, I feel like the margins and the cost for everything is so tight now that like they're banking on things like services like Game Pass, you know, games, selling software, getting people looped into their ecosystem somehow to keep them attached. That's where they're making their money, right? So I like the Xbox. Like I feel like if Xbox could, if Microsoft could, they would just give everybody an Xbox just to get you in the door. Like that's the drug, right? They want to just give you a taste of the ecosystem. You know, same with a lot of companies like Apple too. Like a lot of these products are just, they're meant to get you in the door so that they can start selling you services, right? So yeah, I mean, when the new consoles came out, Series X and PS5, like if you look at what's inside those consoles, the power that's inside those consoles and what that would cost to build in a PC, Like those, there's no way that those companies are making a money on them. You know, they've got to be losing hundreds of dollars. And I'm sure that, you know, a lot of those parts are custom made. So like they're not using PC stock parts and whatnot. But yeah, it's not surprising. It is definitely one of those things that you hear though, where you're like, whoa.
I mean,
What
you're
do you
right.
mean?
Like they do still lost. Like I remember the PS4. You know, I think something. Don't quote me on this, people. It sold at a loss for like I think maybe the first 2 years, and then maybe after like year 3, that's when they actually saw profit margins. But the point is, it did sell at a profit at some point. You know,
Yeah.
when it was all said and done, they were, you know, in the green. Granted,
Yeah.
I don't think a company like Sony. They don't have Microsoft money, so they can't be like the PS1, 2, 3, and 4 all were huge money sinks.
Yeah,
And you know,
that's true.
So you think like, oh, okay. So I would think that like, okay, if Xbox said we just now saw a profit, I'd be like, okay, we saw a profit with the Xbox One, okay. But to be like, I know you say this is the jerk, right? But to be like year in and year out, and I assume those profit margins only got bigger,
Oh yeah.
only got bigger. So I'm just saying, you know, repeated increasing. How the hell? Who was talking to the investors? I'm pretty sure there were just some suits guys who were just like, we're not making consoles no more. We're not making consoles no more. And they're like, nah, yeah, man, we are.
Yeah.
Not only are we going to make more consoles, we're going to sink more money into it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the writing's on the wall, and we've been hearing the conversation that like Xbox seems like the company that's most poised to not be selling consoles in the future, right? Like they're getting Game Pass on so many devices now with cloud gaming and you know, the Series S being such an affordable way to get into their ecosystem now. It's only a matter of time before you see like when is that rumored streaming stick going to come out, right? A couple years back, we heard that rumor that ended up being the Series S that they were basically developing like a really inexpensive way to get into their ecosystem. Like when are we going to see the TVs, you know, with that built in, or like the Game Pass cloud streaming app on, you know, Roku devices or Amazon Fire TV or whatever? Like that seems like the next logical step for them. And like, that's when they're just going to be almost pure profit, right? I mean, of course there's costs to keep Game Pass up and all the money and acquisitions that they need to get companies in there to actually like build out that service. But I mean, Microsoft is at the end of the day, like they're a software company, right? They've been a software company for 40 years now. So they know what's up. Like software is where they're going to make their money. The hardware is just to get you in the door.
You want to know what's the real ironic part of this all? Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone said that, but I'm saying it here now on the show. And I mean, it's stupid ironic because I was thinking about this. Look at Nintendo. The DS, the new 3DS, the Wii, everything with the exception of the Wii U has done nothing but print money. And one could argue recently that Nintendo, in terms of innovation and pushing things forward, has probably done the least out of all 3 of the big 3. But their systems just print money nonstop. Like every time Nintendo drops their financial numbers, I remember thinking like the 22 numbers were going to be horrible. Like, yeah, Animal Crossing was there, and it was like we damn near doubled our profit. And I'm like, bruh, I don't get it. Like,
oh yeah, they have stupid money, and I don't think people realize like how stupid Nintendo money is. They have. I read something, and this was during the Wii U era when people were like, oh man, Nintendo's gonna, you know, they're gonna go out of business because of this console's sinking them. At that point in time, they had enough money to sustain for like 100 years if they didn't sell a single product. They just have so much cash in the bank that I mean, because they've been around for what, over 100 years, right? 130 years, I think. So they've been in business for a long time. But the thing about Nintendo is, man, similar conversation with Microsoft. They have the software, right? And, you know, not right now with Xbox. They've got a bunch of software on the horizon, but traditionally speaking, Nintendo has software that sells, you know, buku bucks for them. And I think that's where they shine. They innovate too. Like all their consoles since the GameCube have been like incredibly innovative and like pushing gaming in different directions and being more inclusive and getting more people in there, especially with the Wii. Like, man, how many grandmas were playing the Wii, you know? Like that never touched a video game before. So they know what they're doing. They may not be competing directly with Microsoft and Sony anymore, but they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly the right thing to make that we didn't realize we wanted.
You're right, because if you think about, you know, when xCloud officially rolled out, you know, about a month ago, and And everyone's like, "Oh, look at this! I can play this game like in my super dock phone handle controller." I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not.
Yeah.
But it's cool that you can. And you know, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, Nintendo has had handheld and mobile gaming on the lock basically since the Game Boy.
Yeah.
And it's like
Straight up.
And it's now 2020, and other people are just like, look at it. And
I can play games wherever I go.
And I just think it's funny because Nintendo, like, even if you want to say the Game Boy doesn't count, with the Switch definitely, which is considered old hardware at this point, you know, that was the perfect, you know, on the go, any game you want, any game in quotations. But yeah, so but beyond that, I just really want to know, like, at some point I want somebody on the inside, maybe someone who knows something. Who is this person at Microsoft / Xbox? Maybe just Xbox now. I think, you know, they're big enough to be their own separate thing internally. Like, who loved gaming so much they wanted this to succeed and keep pushing? Like, someone really just had to be fighting for this. I can't see, like, someone with a lot of power had to be fighting. Because I'm pretty sure at some point the execs were just like, we're going to pull the plug. We don't care what you say. And someone, like, had to beat the war drum nonstop. I could be wrong.
Just a hardcore gamer, bro. Someone in Xbox is just a hardcore gamer.
Right?
He's like, no, we're going to keep doing this.
He was like, no, we need Japanese studios. We need this. Like, we're going to get, like, you know what? I'm in my mind, in the Xbox drama in the future, you know, the documentary, there was some guy who, like, back in the 360 days, you know what? We're going to acquire Bethesda. We're going to be the greatest thing ever. And then, like, you know, lo and behold, he's smoking his cigar now. I was like, I told them we would. Like, I really don't know. If it didn't happen like that, then I don't want to hear the story.
Yeah. Honestly, man, they're making such, like, all the right moves. And I just actually bought a Series X, even though I have, you know, a very capable PC that I'm trying to use as, like, my Xbox basically at this point. But I bought a Series, I bought an Xbox One S, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe not even, so pretty late into the Xbox One's life cycle, just for Game Pass. And, like, I like that so much that I'm like, you know what, I feel like I want to have, like, the best experience, and got the Series X, and, like, they're just, everything that they're doing with that is just, it's so right. Like, from the setup with the app, just doing everything super easy, like the experience is vastly different from Sony. And it shows, like, you know, Microsoft, again, being a software company, they know how to do all this stuff, and they know how to make things work together, you know, their app and Game Pass and everything tying in together. It's like, it's just incredible, man. So they've been like the least favorite for me out of all three of the console, you know, makers. Nintendo's like my go-to always. I've been a Sony boy since PlayStation 1. Xbox has always been like an afterthought to me, but I'm rooting for them so hard this generation because, like, they're doing all the right things. I mean, they have the studios now to back it up. Like, we just need to see the games now. Like, and I'm really like, bro, Microsoft should be paying me for how many people I've turned on to Game Pass. Like, straight up, dude. It's such good value. Like, you gotta be silly to not consider it, you know?
This is true. So, all right, here's time for one of my favorite sections of the show. It's called Tinfoil Hat. I need to get me an actual tinfoil hat to put on, but it all starts to make sense now. So, I think I figured out who's secretly behind Xbox success, or who really wants to succeed. So she set it up. She was like, you know what? No one can tell me no with this company. It's gonna take an L, and the second it gets good, I'm out of here. It's Melinda Gates.
Ooh,
know what I'm saying?
Damn,
that divorce
she exited.
It's a little too convenient.
Yeah,
she's a little too convenient here. Everyone's talking about Xbox. It doesn't need Microsoft no more.
Damn. The mystery's been solved.
Just saying. When we see Melinda Gates at the E3 presentation, don't act surprised, people. You heard it here first. Full Circle Podcast exclusive. Man, if that actually happens, that'll be so wild. That'll be.
Oh yeah.
I would lose my mind. Man, you know, I was reading about the court case where they keep asking Xbox questions, and I'm just like, what is Apple hoping to get out of this? I really don't know anymore.
Honestly, dude, I don't know why so many companies are wrapped up in this. Like, it is so weird. It's fascinating, but it's just very weird.
Yeah, I'm just like, it almost feels personal at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even about the money, Spider-Man.
No. They're just pointing fingers at everybody. Like,
yeah, I'm just like, cause like now when I was reading the article, I'm like, why was Xbox called to testify for what? Like, they have no horse in this race.
yeah, I had no idea.
I don't even know, bro. Like, how did this even start again? Epic was like, you can't play Fortnite on iOS, and then Apple was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Epic was trying to make their own like in-app payment system where they could bypass the App Store. So they took all the revenue instead of giving Apple that 30% cut. And Apple was like, "No. You're on our devices. Like you're in front of millions of people because of our App Store. Like you can't just sidestep this." So, yeah, and Epic was like, "We got money now. We're going to try what we can do." So, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's such an interesting power move. Like, I really,
Yeah.
like, at the end of the day, you know what's the funny part about this? Like, people who are ultimately going to make this decision know nothing of gaming outside of like a numbers thing. Like, the only thing they really know about is like, this company A makes this much, this company B makes this much. My kid plays this and flosses more, so that's good, healthy teeth.
Yeah. I was hearing the judge just like they're trying to basically like teach him what video games are, and they're just like bringing out consoles and like, what is this? This is a PS5. This is an Xbox.
You know, it still trips me out because I still get comments like this, mainly at the barbershop that I go to. And I was talking about stuff, you know, when you ever try to explain to someone what you do, they just don't get it. If you don't know prior to me trying to explain to you, you're probably not going to understand anything I'm trying to explain. Which is weird because I'm saying no one questions an ESPN reporter. They're not on the basketball court, but no one's confused about what their job is. I digress. Yeah. But I was telling someone, blah, and then some guy who was just, listening was just like, oh, they still make Mario games? That's cool. And I'm just like, bruh. Like, I don't think it's that obvious, but I feel like it's kind of obvious. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems bizarre to me. That I mean, some people are just like so not invested in certain like hobbies that I guess you could be living under a rock. But like you got to see like Mario merchandise, like Target. Like they have like shirts and shit. Like how do you?
Yeah, but my thing is their mind is like, okay, so there's like Super Mario World. And I'm like, you've never saw any type of Mario figure video. Like, there's so much. Like, there's people who have literally missed the 3D transition. And I'm like,
that shit's wild to me. Imagine going from Super Mario World to just Odyssey. Putting Odyssey in front of somebody and being like, this is Mario now. They're like, oh.
Bro, I've literally seen it, bro. And their minds are just so blown. It's such a look of confusion. It's literally like, they went to prison in 1954 and came out right now or something. They're just like, I knew what a car was, but what is this? Like
I plug it in. What?
Yeah, bro. I don't know. I don't know. You know what else is wild, man? The fact that we're not gonna have PlayStations anytime soon. Do you have a PS5, man?
I do. Yes, I am.
I do too.
I'm lucky enough. I pre-ordered it back in whenever pre-orders went live. That whole shit show. Cured it. Thank you, Walmart. Yeah, I'm. The thing is, like, I love it. It's honestly like it's a great console, but I've hardly played any actual PS5 games on it. Like, besides Returnal and Demon Souls, like everything else is either like cross-gen or like I've just been using it as basically like an enhanced PS4 Pro. So,
I mean, that's what it is, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, so I understand there's millions of people out there right now that are still trying to get a PS4 or PS5. And like, I understand how difficult that is. Like I've got, went through like hoops trying to get them for my friends and stuff too. And it's tough, man. It's the secondhand market is no joke. Like for anybody who's ever tried to buy shoes, like, that shit sucks. So welcome to that market. It's garbage. So yeah, like, but right now, the fact that there isn't really that much to play on it anyway, that you're not missing out on too much. So until there's like just absolute like bangers of a lineup. I get it if people are still trying to get one right now, but like once you do have it, like a couple of my friends that were like clamoring for it, they finally got their PS5 and they're like not playing anything on it. I'm like, you guys were so excited. What happened? You know? It's like, well, there's not really anything out. I'm like, okay, yeah. So it sucks that it's gonna take a while to get them, but you know, until there's software to back it up, like, you know, don't be in a super big rush.
Yeah. Two key points real quick. One, who does Bloomberg have working there? Because they're breaking all the great video game news. They
Schreier, dude.
Man,
Jason Schreier's over there now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Man, they leaked I don't know, the Super Nintendo Switch, wherever they're gonna call it. It should call it Super Nintendo Switch, by the way.
I would love that.
Yeah,
that'd be so sick.
They got this PS5 news. They were talking about the Bethesda acquisition before it was like official news. Like, you know, people had to be like, Bloomberg reported, but we don't know if it's true. And Bloomberg's like, we know it's true.
We got it right here.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Bloomberg, good job. Go y'all. Like, I don't know what y'all are doing over there. Two, you know, what you said is 100% accurate, but we're reaching the danger zone. Because I remember thinking when I tried to get PS5 and I failed so many times, and I remember telling myself, Odell, you have to get this before the year ends. Thank God I actually did.
Mm-hmm.
I got it like December 20-something, 2019. Yay. But because there's going to come an era in the PS5's lineup. And now we know things have only gotten worse since launch, which I didn't think it was going to be still this bad, but it is. Where the PS5 games are going to start dropping. And that's going to be the wrong time to try to get one. Case in point, there's going to be a lot of unfortunate people who are not going to be able to play Ratchet and Clank, the first true next-gen game.
That's the first one that I think is going to feel real bad if you don't have it. Yeah. And
then, you know, and we don't really have any real, you know, concrete release dates, but God of War Ragnarok is going to drop. Horizon Forbidden West is going to drop. Horizon, that's still an exclusive, right? I believe.
Yeah.
The Last of Us remake, I guess, it's gonna drop. Final Fantasy VII Retrograde, it's gonna drop, and I don't know if that's coming to Xbox. I know it's gonna be it's coming to PC, but is it coming to Xbox?
Final Fantasy?
Yeah, Retrograde.
They still haven't announced it, dude. That game had like a 1-year exclusivity on PS4, and they just the date passed. I think it was April 3rd or whatever, or 6th. It passed and they didn't say anything. So yeah, I don't know.
All right, so until we know definitively, Retrograde is gonna be PS5 and console exclusive, you know, be on PC. And then but even so, it's still gonna be 6 months exclusively on the PS5 before it releases on PC. So, and maybe Xbox, we don't know, who knows at this point. And so right now I'm geeked for Final Fantasy Retrograde DLC, Luffy Edition. Upside down, left, right, however, I don't know. You know, eventually part 2 or wherever they're going to call it's going to come out. And so already there's 3 games, technically, definitively, that I know is coming out. I'm really hyped for. And then that's not including surprises because E3 is right around the corner. And there's no telling that, well, I mean, Sony's not a part of E3, but, you know, they're going to announce something in June, July. You know, they're going to have their state of play or what have you. So there's no telling what October, November, December Sony releases might be looking like, and then, you know, early 2022. And I think it is going to be pandemonium when we hit that point. Like, it's scary to think about because basically what they said is when all the good games are here, PS5 still will not be.
That's scary. And honestly, like, it really does. It's unfortunate the situation that like everybody's in, you know, with COVID and just how that's affected. And we're starting to see like those ripple effects really pan out now. But like, damn, bro, that definitely sucks that it's going to be potentially next year before, you know, majority of people get their hands on this console. That being said, I also think that some of this might just be Sony trying to like temper expectations a little bit. Like it's not like they're saying we're not making any more between now and, you know, next year. They're still going to be making them. They're not going to be as available as everybody wants, you know, and that it is what it is. Like the Switch is still hard to get last year. Like when Animal Crossing came out, like 3 years after it launched, you still couldn't get a Switch. So sometimes that's just the case with technology. Like those parts they're finite and there's a bottleneck there. You know, with so many different devices using those types of processors now, smartphones, tablets, computers, all that. Like,
Bro,
yeah,
you know how since I'm assuming you're in your friend circle, people know you as the gamer guy. You write for IGN, you got the knowledge, so people come to you. And I
yeah,
remember people coming to me, that March, April, May, what have you, months of 2020, and be like, Odell, when did you get your Switch? How can I find a Switch? I'm like, bro, I've had a Switch for years. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like,
yeah.
I have zero advice to give you.
Yeah.
Like, I know, bless their heart, it's not their fault. A lot of people thought it just came out or something. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
The fact that it's
been
hard, the fact, like, bro, if you wanted to Switch, like, I swear 4 months ago, you just went to, like, any store that exists.
Yeah, just walk right in and pick it up. Yeah, it's wild, dude. That was just such a moment for Nintendo, and like I'm so happy that so many people discovered the Switch last year, and that it had the success that it did because like it's I've been singing that thing's praises since it came out, and like I love my Switch. It is like one of the best consoles ever made, in terms of what it can do and the games and everything, and it's only getting better. So the fact that millions more people were able to jump on that train last year is it's so good.
All right, yeah. And to your comment about tempering expectations, which I really hope is the case, Sony's just lowering the bar, even though it's really not that bad. But I'm just saying, but still, we're gonna have the scalper problem, which unfortunately, there's no real way to control that. And I don't know who's buying a PS5 at double the cost, but man, I wish I had your job first and foremost.
For real, like the secondhand market is like it's a frustrating thing in general. Like I hate it. I think it's really scummy that people do that. And but the problem is like people keep buying it. People keep buying from that, and it's like if people didn't do that, then that secondhand market would disappear. But some people just really don't have the patience to like wait or do the work to look for it, on their own. So you gotta stay locked to Wario64 on Twitter and just, I mean, that's honestly like all my friends that were trying to get them. Like I was helping out, anytime I'd see a tweet go out, but I was like, look, you need to follow this man right here on Twitter and just like put a notification alerts on your phone. And I promise you, eventually you will get it. You just have to put in the work. So
this is true. So what ultimately do you think this will be? I mean, it can go either or, honestly, but let's just say we're a year from now. We're in May 2022. PS5s, the story hasn't changed. We haven't moved the needle. But now, we have all these amazing games out, Ratchet plus whatever comes out. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for Sony? Like, I mean, clearly on paper it's good. Like, oh, I have to get one of all these amazing games. But do you think ultimately like this is gonna hurt Sony? People are just gonna be like, you know what, screw it. I can't get it. I'm not gonna play these games.
No, I don't think it's gonna matter. Honestly, it's similar to how Nintendo consoles have always been. Like they kind of create that false sense of like there's not a stock. I completely blanked on that term, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Where the supply, like they're trying to make it seem like there's not enough supply, and that just makes people more and more crazy for it and rabid to get it. And I feel like that's only been the case with PlayStation, especially over this last generation. Like they had so many people move from the Microsoft side over to Sony because PS4 just like took off, right? They had the games, they had the powerful console and everything. So the fact that they already have sold 7 million, and that's the fastest selling console in history or whatever, is pretty telling. Like, yes, we're in a time where they don't have as many as they could have, but clearly they have more than they've had in the past if they're able to sell through all of that, So I think that it's definitely like they could be making more, but I realistically, like if they keep up with where they're at, like they're only going to continue selling more than they have in the past. And what was it, like 25% of the people who own PS5s have never had a PlayStation console before. So like there's all new people jumping in too now. So
yeah, and it's interesting because we all, every year we always have to talk, is physical hardware dead? Clearly not.
Yeah.
Clearly not. I mean, yes, there's no real, there's no PS5 play on your PC, alternative or nothing like that. But, people are still going to do what they can to have a physical piece of hardware. I'm old school, I kind of enjoy having that, games as well. I need that. I was thinking that, because I've had friends tell me this, and I thought it was funny because, actually, I haven't done this in a while where they were just like, even if they don't have a PS5, they still plan on buying the games. And I'm like, that's not bad because I've done that before because it's like, it was, I can't remember. I think it was the Xbox One that I knew definitively I was getting for Christmas or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay, I'm getting this for sure at this time. I'm going to buy some games just so when I officially have it, they'll just be there, ready to go. I won't have to go and get like 2-3 games at once.
Yeah.
So the people who do that, there's no shame in that. Buy your Ratchet and Clank, and whenever you acquire the PS5, it'll be right there waiting for you.
The only thing I worry about is what happens if the only PS5 that you have available in front of you is a digital edition.
Oh man!
And now you have all these physical games, and you're like, "Oh, but I could walk away with one right now, but then I can't play all these games I bought."
Man, that's a toughie.
So it's a tough decision that you haven't crossed before,
Well,
but
I guess
that's the thing with.
I mean, in theory, I guess you could still buy it on the PlayStation Store, right?
Yeah, but now you just spent twice for the same game.
No, I'm saying instead of buying the physical, if you don't know if you're gonna get the physical, I guess.
Yeah. Just buy the digital game. Yeah. I went with the digital edition this time because I as much as I like having like physical media, like I'm trying to force myself to just like go with that digital future. Like the fact that like especially with my Switch, I have a ton of Switch games behind me here that I buy physical just because I like to have them, but like less and less there's really like nothing in those boxes anymore for the most part. Like back in the day, like you used to have the instruction manual when you're a kid, like that was like the best thing ever. Go pick up your game, open it up on the way home, read through the instruction manual, look at all the pictures. Like that doesn't exist anymore. It's just like ads for another game now. So I'm like I don't know if I like really need the physical anymore. Like I used to trade it in, but like, trade-in values suck too, so it's just a weird thing, man. I'm trying to go like force myself into that digital future.
I was all about reverse covers. I used to love it. Like, ooh,
yeah,
take it out. Yeah, new cover. Look at that.
What game is that? It's the same game.
Yeah, I feel you. I used to love instruction manuals because we didn't have the internet. Fun fact, I remember when I had Sonic Adventure 1 for the Dreamcast, RIP Dreamcast. But and there was a move you had to do. I think it was the dig with Knuckles, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I opened the instruction manual, and it was like, press these buttons simultaneously. And whatever age Odell was had no idea what simultaneously meant. Probably didn't read it. I was probably like, press these samutuna satsulu. I don't know what this word is. It's too long. It's like 11 letters. It's impossible to read.
Yeah.
So I actually, and remember people, internet it existed, but was not readily accessible in most households just yet during the Dreamcast era. So I had to go find a damn dictionary, which is funny because I don't think I haven't owned one in probably a decade. But this was an era where like having a dictionary is important. Went and found our dictionary, looked up simultaneously, and it was like to do something at the same time. And I was like, why didn't it just say that?
Right, like this is a game for children. What are you doing? Who are you writing this for, Sega?
Yeah, and I've always remembered that's like my quintessential instruction booklet memory that's always stuck with me.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, and
that had some layers to it just to figure that out.
It did, and I remember. So before I did that whole rigmarole, I was like, all right, press these buttons. I don't know what simultaneously means, but I know how to press these buttons. So like I was like, I don't remember what the buttons on the Dreamcast were. So I was like, A, B. That didn't work. Okay, B, A. Maybe it means to hold. Okay, holding doesn't work, which I felt like it should because whatever. I guess So I tried like literally every button combination, doing my logistical math, A to B, B to C,
Yeah.
And it baffles me that you're telling me, Lord, during all of that, I never pressed the buttons at the same time. Like, was I off a beat? Was
Yeah.
yeah, just nonsense. And man, I'm sorry, I can't subscribe to that notion of going digital. I'm gonna go kicking and screaming into the night.
Hey, that's all good, man. I as I get older, I hate having to like switch games out. I have such bad like game ADD now where I'm just like I'll sit down to play something and I'm like, I'm not feeling this right now. Let me go try something else. And like doing that 3 or 4 times and like having to get the disc and track it down, and it gets to be like a dance I don't like doing anymore. So I'm like, you know what? If Sony's gonna put out a digital version of this console and it's $100 cheaper, I'll try it out, you know?
I know, I feel that because this is literally me earlier this week. I was like, ooh, it's time to play some Pokemon Snap, new Pokemon Snap. Gonna have a good day. Kick off my shoes, laying on the couch. Ooh, changing the input. Nintendo Switch is on. Pokemon Snap. Paper Mario the Origami King. When did I put you in the Switch? To do what? and then like in the corner of my eye is like the game box for Pokemon Snap. And I'm just like, but I'm so comfortable.
Right? Yeah. The Switch was actually the first console that I like really, even though I buy a bunch of games. I basically now, actually, you know what? I think it was with the 3DS. I started buying games where I'd be like, look, this is a portable console. Like, I'm going to be playing it on the go. What games do I know that I just want to have on hand at all times? So if I'm like in a pinch somewhere, I'm like, I need to play this game. Like, it's there. Like Pokemon X, when that came out, I was like, yo, this is a digital game for sure. Super Smash Brothers, digital game. You want to have that on hand at all times, right? So same thing with the Switch. If it's like a game where like I know I'm going to be like it's going to be a game that I will return to year after year, like that's a digital purchase for me. Whereas if it's a game that I'm like, I'll play through, but I may not go back to and have like cravings for, that's a game where I'll buy physical. But like, yeah, that's kind of in my brain how I would like determine if I want to do digital game or not. But now I'm trying to just do everything digital, and it's weird, man, because like digital games unfortunately do not go on sale as often. Especially I noticed like on PlayStation Store, like they kind of control that whole market. So they put stuff on sale when they want to, and I'm like, oh, I'm so stingy with like buying games that I will literally, I will just wait until there's a sale, even if it's like 10% off. I'm like, all right, well at least it's something.
No, I feel if anything, let's say the Super Nintendo Switch comes out and it has like 2 terabytes of storage. I know I'm shooting for the moon, people, but for sake of this argument, it has 2 terabytes of storage, and here's the key part. Because I feel like all the great games on the Switch are not cloud save supported for some strange, crazy reason.
Yeah.
But let's just say we have cloud saving across the board, plenty of space, or I can go buy me like a 2 terabyte micro SD, whatever goes in there. I think the Switch could convince me to be digital only because that's the only thing I'm not gonna be like lugging my PS5 anywhere unless I move. But the Switch, the Switch comes with me on planes and stuff, so that's that's I can see it. But until consoles become obsolete, I think I'll hang in there. I still got space on my bookshelf back there, but I will say this: I have lost some games over the years, and I mean the frustrating loss. Like you open the case and it's nowhere to be found, and you call your friend, and you're like, "Look, I know you fucking got the game. Don't you lie to me. It could be nowhere else."
Yeah.
So you don't have that problem with digital.
Yeah, the only problem with digital is like, and we're starting to see this with that PlayStation conversation that happened a few weeks back, where they were turning off the PS3 and the PSP stores, right, and the Vita store, and you're like, well, what happens with those purchases, that I made digitally? Like, do I actually own those? Do I not own them? Like, what happens if you can't retrieve those? Then you don't have anything to show for, which kind of sucks. So I really hope that like that stuff gets figured out in the future. And things like Nintendo, where your purchases somehow previously never like tied to an account, they didn't ever carry over. Like you had to rebuy the same game on every damn Nintendo console. So I'm hoping now with like a Nintendo account that like those purchases will stay there, and they know that like I've made digital purchases. So whatever the next console is, like I can just play those there.
All right, so this is a rare problem, and I know it doesn't. it normally fixes itself, or I think you can call Sony support. But so I'm running into this problem with the PS5. It has horrible storage, yes, blah blah blah. But they've had a lot of recent games I had to delete. For example, Control Definitive Edition, I recently had to delete. I'm not finished with it, but I had to because Apex had an update, and I pretty much deleted everything else that couldn't. And I hadn't played Control for like a week, so I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'll hop back into it. Play Control on PS5, people. The DualSense controls, magical, different game. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, those Control DualSense features, bro, cannot recommend them enough. Like, that's a spicy meatball. Excuse my horrible expression, but I'm like, and they add that retroactively, so I can only think about what they're gonna do.
Oh, dude, it gets me so hyped. Have you played Returnal yet? Are you planning on playing Returnal?
It is a known fact on the show. I do not like roguelikes. Like, I just
That's okay.
But
you played Astro's Playroom at least, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So like that experience with the DualSense was like, I've never experienced that before. It was like playing games again for the first time. Like anybody that comes over, like my family would come over, whatever. I'm like, you guys need to see this. Just experience this controller, this like the vibrations and stuff, and like you can hear everything and feel the grain of sand and whatever. Like I'm so on board with the DualSense features. Like it is incredible. So anytime I hear that there's like a game that took it to the next level, like I loved Control. That was like my favorite game in 2019. So I'm gonna have to go check that out on PS5.
Do it, bro. You'll fall in love all over again.
Let's go.
But
I need to play the DLC because I didn't play that.
Yeah, that's why I got the complete edition to see all that fun stuff. Oh, but my point was, so I had to delete it. And now when I went to go re-download it, it was like you gotta buy it because it was the PlayStation's free game of the month when I downloaded it. Yeah. And now it's no longer the free. And now it's like it's a weird tick. I've run into this before. Like I tried to re-download a game and said I have to buy it. But
you still have PlayStation Plus, right?
Yeah.
Then you should, as long as you added it to your library, like you own it while you have PlayStation Plus. Yeah. It shouldn't make you buy it again.
No, I don't. But I'm saying I've run into this problem before where it's like, basically what I do is I keep trying to re-download it until it recognizes that like, oh, I own it somehow.
Weird.
But yeah, so like I've talked to people. It's granted, it's never been bad enough. It's usually just like let me not go to rest mode. Let me turn the console all the way off. Turn it back on. Or like usually the easy fix is sign out of my PlayStation account and then re-sign back into it. Enough of turn this off, turn this back on, and it fixes. Mm-hmm. But I always have this fear that when I have digital games, especially ones that I got for free through promotion, that if I ever delete them and retry to download them again, it's always there's gonna be the one game where it's gonna be like, no, you gotta buy it.
And you're like, but I finally want to play this. No, now you gotta buy it. Yeah, that's weird, dude. Yeah, that definitely sounds just like a really shitty software issue, but yikes.
Yeah, so and that was my fear with a lot of digital games because I remember on the Xbox, so it was weird. So I got the Rare Replay. I bought the actual game, and then I found out all that Rare Replay does is when you put the disc in, is download those games for free from the Xbox Marketplace, which I thought was just bonkers.
Yeah, and that so many Nintendo cartridges do that too now. So it's like also making me think like, okay, this is like pushing me towards digital even more. It's like, why do they even sell that if it's not actually on the disc or like on the cart? Yeah.
And then my problem was like I gave my Rare Replay to somebody else because I was like, well, I don't need it no more. And then I couldn't play half those games. Like it was weird. It was a toss up. Like for example, Banjo-Kazooie, like I could play. I guess that's big enough. But then like I wanted to play like I can't remember what was on there, but like insert game here, and it was like insert game disc, and I'm like,
what?
Uh-oh. Yeah,
that's so weird.
Yeah, there's those weird, and it's probably something like one of the arcade racers or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it's probably not a game a lot of people are even trying to play. So, no one really talks about it or brings it up because it's not an issue. But yeah, man, it's all these little weird and like I said, for the most part, it works itself out. But it's just that constant like.
Yeah, if you don't have that like consistent experience with digital, like I could totally see where you're like, I don't know. If it's not working 100% of the time perfect, like it's not going to be a good experience. So yeah, I feel like before everything goes digital, like these weird little issues need to be sorted out for sure.
Yeah,
Because
for
otherwise,
sure.
you're gonna lose a lot of people.
Yeah, but I guess we gotta get the consoles first, or in Xbox case you don't. You know, Xbox go you again because I think they just opened the floodgates. They're like, yeah, some people are doing some shady stuff to own games they haven't paid for, but screw it. Which I kind of appreciate. Not because I'm trying to cheat the system, but in the sense that they're not gonna try to fight it because it might mess up my experience. So I appreciate them taking that reasonable L. But people
They're
don't
like,
get
well,
crazy.
we're not making money anyway, so who cares?
I didn't want to say it, but that's something you're like, you know what? We're not even making money. Who cares? We're here for the gamers. Do what y'all want. That's such a weird thing that Xbox is being the world's greatest gaming company by essentially not caring about money. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a master plan because, money, but
Yeah, there has to be something. They can't just be like handing out candy forever, you know.
yeah.
At some point, they got to re-up on that candy.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be they're gonna screw us all because Bethesda's gonna start making these awesome exclusives, and then they're gonna they're gonna once they become king of exclusives, oh yeah, we're all screwed.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the only way that Xbox could continue pulling this stunt is if they never actually release those games. They just keep stringing us along, and they keep having it. You pay for Game Pass month after month, year after year, and you're like in hopes that one day, like, yo, Starfield's coming. It's gonna come out. Elder Scrolls 6, and they're like, it's coming. We're working on it. And they just 10 years from now, they announce the next Xbox console, and we're like, what the fuck? We just paid for the last 10 years, and then we never got those games. That's the long con, dude. That's what they're going for.
Man. Here, let me pass the figurative tinfoil hat to you, sir. There you go. All right. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. We're almost out of time, people. But I gotta say this, man, because you got me thinking this about their stringing us along, and I believe you because people to this day are still waiting on the Fable game, and I'm like, bruh, give up on Fable. And let me say this. I don't care who gets offended. Fable 1, 2, 3, The Long Woods, whatever. Those games were not that good. I'm sorry. Fable was
Also,
never a great game franchise.
If you thought Fable was coming, like, it's on you, bro. It's in the name. It's literally called Fable. Like, they got you.
Bruh, I've never seen people love a game all about choices so much where your choices never really mattered.
But you have to understand, like, that's an Xbox audience that didn't have like a lot of really good RPGs. Like, Xbox didn't have like these intricate JRPGs and like all these other games that really had decisions and stuff. So, they get the first taste of it and they're like, oh, the best.
I guess. So I don't know if that's a spicy, hot, aggressive, controversial take. But one, stop waiting for Fable, and two, it was never a great of a game anyway. And I'm saying that because I retroactively played Fable 1 and 2 because people wouldn't shut up about it. And I'm like, what is this? You talking about Final Fantasy 13 was linear. My God.
Yeah, I played the first Fable game, and that's the only one I ever played. And I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, it is. I'm not, yeah. I digress. Matt, real quick, thank you so much for joining me this week. Where can people find you, keep up with you, and, ultimately destroy you for saying that the original non-Zack Snyder cut was fine?
Oh, damn. Hey, I'll be honest, I have not watched the original Justice League. I've only watched the Snyder cut.
Oh, okay. That might be why that opinion is there.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. When I say the DCU movies, I didn't watch Justice League. I watched only Snyder cut. Anyway, you can find me on all the things at mostly just Matthew Adler, Twitter at Matthew Adler, and twitch.tv/Matthew Adler. And then you could search me up on IGN. You'll see what I've been working on there.
Ooh, do that. Support his content, people. Get him hired full time.
Please.
I will find you. But I will thank y'all for joining me. Shout out to the Patreons real quick. Gabriel Garcia, Rachel Coleman, Baker Rice, Ryan Frazier, and Gabriel Cleveland. If you want to support the channel, there's Patreon, Full Circle Productions. You can do that. But as I always like to say, you can like, share, subscribe for free $99. Ding! like for real, if you're already here, might as well do it. I'm just saying.
Hit the button.
Yeah. Or you could write a review on wherever podcasts are found. I read them eventually, and I like them. So thank you. If you're gonna write a bad review, I mean you could just come at me on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta do it like that. You can find me. I'm not hiding. But I hope you have a great week, everyone. And as always, be blessed. We'll see you next time.